back to the Hothouze podcast. Today you're joining me for another episode of Change Their Mind. I'm Ryan Johnson, I'll be your host today. Today I'm joined by Killian Quigley Burns.
How's it going?
I'll start off with small talk. How are you, Killian?
I'm good. I hate anime.
Right into our next segment. Killian, you said earlier today that you hate Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
Care to revoke your statement?
No.
Care to delve deeper into why you
Sure.
hate Studio Ghibli?
Yeah, why not?
Please.
So, I know I said I hate anime. That's actually more of a general statement. I love Attack on Titan. I used to absolutely adore it.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon games, I guess. I never saw the show. I think JoJo's great. Sword Art Online's great at points. But Studio Ghibli specifically, I try watching it. They're all just too long. And overall, I think the animation of anime is lazy, and specifically in Studio Ghibli movies as well.
Okay. I want to warn you now already that first off, you've made an awful lot of enemies just with that statement alone.
I think I was supposed to get a shield earlier, just in case. Okay.
Shield did not arrive in time.
Okay, I'm going to do my best.
So
Try and change my mind on this.
I am going to change your mind.
We'll see.
I believe I will successfully change your mind.
We'll see.
So, first off, you mentioned in there they're lazily animated.
Mm.
How? Every
Okay.
image, don't interrupt.
Sorry.
Every image is hand drawn and layered on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Meticulously, every single one of them. How is that lazy to you?
All they need to do is draw one frame of a field and then digitally pan upward and just have somebody standing in a field, shot done. There's no movement, there's no nothing. Maybe that looks like of wind, but I just think in terms of them speaking as well, this goes for all anime, is when the mouth just kind of opens up. Why do they all have this? I know it's the art style, but barely any movement in the mouth, just very robotic to me. I can't get it sometimes.
Okay, fair enough. What about some scenes that include a massive amount of action sequences? Like Princess Mononoke is quite filled with
Okay.
action scenes between samurai and the coal miners, or the steam. I can't remember what they were.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you not think that a scene like that is not made out of hours and hours of pure labor of just drawing constantly?
Well, I think all animation is hours and hours of pure labor, but specifically anime 2D animation, I think is probably the quickest to churn out, and yet
Okay.
Studio Ghibli movies take forever to come out. Now, I do have an idea of this, is the story elements.
Mm-hmm.
They're wacky, they're
Okay.
weird, they probably take a long time for Miyazaki
Okay.
to come up with.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual animation, people just say, this is beautifully animated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, some shots that it's only movement everywhere, I'm like, yeah, that'll take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, I just remember there being still backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
with minimal stuff. Like if there's explosions,
Mm-hmm.
sure, I'm just not convinced
Mm-hmm.
on it. I feel like there could be a lot of digital manipulation with
Okay.
it to make it move. I'm like, nah, that feels lazy.
Well, it's a very interesting look at it, Killian. I think you're wrong. I think you admitted there yourself in the middle of that it's definitely hours and hours of labour. So how can you justifyingly say that and then immediately jump back to it's lazy?
I mentioned all animation is hours and hours of labour.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is, I think anime is the least amount of hours to make.
Okay.
But I'm also confused as to why it takes so long.
Because it's hours and hours of labour.
And yet, I see a new Pixar movie coming out every 2 years.
It's all digitally animated. And almost always trash.
That's an episode for another day, possibly.
Of course. We'll move on from that subject.
Okay.
Do you think maybe it could just be a issue that you've never given them a proper watch? Again, you mentioned earlier that you've only ever watched, was it Ponyo and Hothouze, was it? A little bits of Totoro?
I've seen little bits of Totoro.
Mhm.
I've seen most of Hothouze. Turned it off halfway. I've seen all of Princess Mononoke.
Okay, of course.
And what was the other one?
Ponyo?
Ponyo I've seen all of, but I was very young.
Okay.
Okay, let me think. If I had to choose one that I really liked, probably Ponyo.
Okay.
Cause it's just why would you come up with a weird like duck person fish thing? What is it? Do they explain it in the movie?
Yeah, loosely.
I know it's like a creation of some guy.
Yeah. It's
What the hell is like what's going on?
little Studio Ghibli around. It's a wizard who lives underwater who gets with a like sea goddess, and Ponyo
Okay.
is their love child.
And it's Ponyo's job to bring back the sea
No,
or
it's
life in the sea or something.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I'll be honest.
Because it's not great.
It's amazing. How dare you?
Okay.
You don't think the art style in that film is not amazing? Any of those scenes underwater where they have all the fish moving,
Okay.
and like, you don't think that was
I can get behind the water. I
Okay.
can get behind like Ponyo running across the
Okay.
water as well. I
Okay.
think that's fair.
okay?
But if I was thinking about like the actual story of it as
Yes.
well, I'm just so confused all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even like looking at like Hothouze moving castle, like yes, the character designs are crazy in that, but I just feel like it just doesn't make sense a lot of the time. Like there's just
Of course.
there's a fire guy, he's just there.
Why do you feel like the story needs to make sense? Could you just get into a film and enjoy the world that it's painted for you? Like, again, I think we both agree on Ponyo being a really, really good film.
I'm sure we do. In
Yeah.
another life.
Okay, of course. If you say so. I don't think there necessarily needs to be a giant explanation behind any of the films. I think if you just have an open-mindedness of it and go into it with the feeling of just wanting to watch a beautifully animated film, your mind might change.
Beautifully animated.
You don't think they're gorgeously animated?
No, oh, I going back into the anime kind of aspect, I feel like it's lazy. Except for specific things where everything's moving on camera.
Okay.
But if we were to say, okay, if we're going into, should every story make sense? No.
Of course.
I actually
Agreed.
agree. Like, I don't think every story should make sense.
Okay.
Specifically, I think when it's abstract, like
Mhm.
the David Lynch stuff,
Okay.
some of that stuff does not make sense
Uh-huh.
at all.
Yeah.
That's also hard to watch sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like when Miyazaki's coming up with ideas, he's like, all right, I'm going to have, the setting is like a boat town,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, interesting. Or the setting's like, sprawling hills and there's witches and stuff. Okay, I can kind of get into that. Like, this is the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna make a woman with a big nose and she goes really small.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here? And like, I feel like he almost has, like story dice.
Yes.
I feel like he has like a bunch of those.
And just changes them about.
And just rolls it and is like, I'm putting that in my next movie.
Okay. Fair enough. You mentioned
What is the scarecrow guy doing?
he was turned into a turnip head by a witch.
Okay. move
To
on.
start a war. If you actually watch the film to the very end, you would hear that. And,
That's fair.
And get that
At the
solved.
very end.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Alright.
it's sort of left. I agree with some of the story aspects of it is very drawn out, and just that's one of my biggest issues with Studio Ghibli is at the very end, it's very much just cut to the chase. But I think you should I think it's another case of our previous episode where you need to go and actually in with an open mind and rewatch everything.
Okay.
But I think that's all we have time for today. Killian, I really do hope I've changed your mind in this situation. Judging by the smug look on your face, I fear I haven't.
No. I actually came out of this conversation kind of thinking, this is actually pretty interesting.
Okay, well,
It's some things.
I'm
So
glad I've put
I'll
that
have to
thought.
watch more.
Of
I'll have to
course.
sit through them. But I'll let you know.
This is a tough one, but I think it's gone well. This has been Change Their Mind, the Hothouze podcast. Thank you for joining me, Killian Quigley Burns. It's nice having you here. I've been Ryan Johnson. Thank you very much.